Making shoes for the show horse, the principles are the same as making for any other horse. We mark the shoes slightly offset towards the outside, longer on the outside, and we mark the outside of the outside branch. These shoes are they're called show shoes. They're made to enhance the size of the horse's foot. They're made to give the foot a bigger appearance. These shoes have been made for a yearling filly, and they measure 15 inches long. There is criteria for measuring the feet. It's length and width plus 3 or length and width plus 2, depending on the size of the foot. And I suggest that you actually make some shoes and work out your own measurements, because for us to give you definite measurements here would be wrong, I think. So what Alan's doing is he's making a square toe front shoe. So he's forging the heel. Now what he's doing is he's forging the heel, we call it away from the frog. Now instead of doing a toe bend, he's actually making the shoe in two halves. He's keeping the toe square, but he's forming the toe quarter, that's where the bend is, right up on the outside toe quarter. And he's making a square toe front shoe. And in some terms you would think this was a lateral extension shoe, because the shoe now is being beveled on the outside and the nails are punched really coarse in the inner web of the branch. Now the purpose of this is most draft horses are slightly toe in. This is because they're wide in their shoulders, they've got strength in their shoulders, so their feet are actually right underneath their shoulders, and the weight is coming down towards the lateral side of them. So they end up slightly pigeon-toed as they develop. So they need as much support on the outside, the lateral side of their feet, as you can. So what we end up doing is giving them a good bevel, a good support on the outside, and then fitting them reasonably close on the inside branch to stop them pulling their shoe off. You can see Alan marked the nail holes there, and he's now punching the nail holes. This is plain stamping as opposed to putting the groove, the fullering in, and making the nail holes that way. This is it's traditional that the show shoes have been plain stamped, and it's much easier for the farriers to make them this way. But you have to be very precise with your pitch of your nail holes, your nail position, and the angulation of the nail holes. This is fundamental to good shoemaking principles. Again, you'll see the centre punch mark in the middle of the toe and the outside of the outside branch. Look how precise his pritchel is. There's no tartles, as we explained earlier, and he's now just, this shoe's small enough to forge on his own with a hammer, and he's running round the beveling on the outside. The bevel is there to enhance the appearance of the foot and just give it a wider appearance. Again, he's going to use his stamp just to size the nail holes, and then he'll go through them again with his pritchel just to finalise them. You can see here the shoes being made in two completely separate halves. Now he's going to narrow up the inside. He marked the shoe slightly offset to the outside, so about a quarter of an inch he was long on the outside branch. He's now forging the inner web of the shoe. Again, the quarter starts the same place. You can see the definite square toe appearing. The function of the square toe is to help the horse to break over in the centre of its leg. It's also to keep the breakover, the last point from which the horse leaves the ground, keep that as short as possible. And this is very good for the horse in as much as it takes a strain off the back of the leg, the deep flexor tendons and the superficial flexor tendons, and the ligaments that support the back of the leg. Alan is now punching the nails in the inner branch of the shoe. You can see he's going finer towards the outside of the branch, and this reflects where the nails are going to go in the foot. You can see that when you're measuring the foot, you should measure where the nail holes are going to be when you're looking for the size of the shoe, as opposed to the actual size of the shoe. So if you measure the width of the foot in relation to the wall and the white line, that gives you a better idea of your size of the shoe when you're doing square toes and coarse and fine nail holes in shoes. So he does a slight bevel on the inside, which this is him doing it now. You can see that he's given it a slight bevel. Now there's a difference between a Scotch bevel and an English bevel. An English bevel relates to a Shire bevel relates to the slope or the angle of the actual hoof, whereas a Scotch bevel traditionally shows the bevel is actually outside the slope of the hoof and has nothing to do. It's got no relationship to the angle of the hoof itself. Now look where he's putting the clip. The clip relates to a direct point straight down the point of the cannon bone. He put the centre punch mark in the centre of the shoe to allow him to make a symmetrical shoe. But before fitting the shoe, what we're going to do is put a line down the centre of the cannon bone of the horse. And where the line touches the hoof, bisects the hoof, that's where the clip goes. It's there for aesthetics. It's there to put the clip in the centre of the leg as opposed to the centre of the hoof, and it actually gives the hoof the appearance of symmetry by balancing the hoof in relation to the leg. You'll see this when we come to the chapter on shoeing the show horse. It becomes very evident why we should put the clip in such a place. Again, nail fit. I make no excuse for showing you nail fit again and again. It is absolutely vital to holding the shoes on securely and for a long period of time. Making shoes in pairs again is fundamental.